Creative prayer uses the greatly enhanced receptivity of the brain during the alpha state, a state where our brain runs on longer brain waves than usual in order to trigger significant changes deep down in our unconscious thought and feel processes. Humans are special in that they can recreate creation. They do it with their mind, using imagination as a tool. All our genial artists, scientists, and great business people have shown that it is possible, long before we were talking about virtual reality, to create worlds within a world. And if we go through the biographies of very imaginative people, we can see that they have created their own world. A world that is usually quite different from the world of the common man who takes reality for granted. So actually, we must go deeper and ask, what is reality? Is it a fixed concept that we can define and that is general for all of us? My observation is rather that there are 5 billion realities on this world, in every head one, and even more than one. If we take multiple personalities, we can see that their brain creates different worlds, one for every part personality, or split self. Different personalities live in different worlds since they perceive reality in a different way. Modern quantum physics, with its puzzling insight that the outcome of every experiment depends on the observer perspective, corroborates this observation. There is a relativity theory which goes far beyond the one Einstein is credited with, or perhaps we have conceived Einstein's observations in a much too limited way. What if this relativity theory was actually a universal concept in the cosmos? More than a mere science theory, but a philosophical concept. You only need remember how you see the world when you are angry and how different it seems to you when you are content and happy. The inside and the outside are one. When we are black inside, we encounter black outside. It is very strange, but when we are filled with negative emotions, we encounter negative people. Unlucky, unfortunate people, those who are mutilated physically or mentally or emotionally. Yet when we are positive and happy, the world seems to be populated with angels. This is not a trick of our imagination. It is because we project our inside world toward the outside. And thus recreate creation. We used to distinguish our emotional life from our mental life or mental attitude. In fact, the two are not separated. Or to put it more precisely, the mental encompasses the emotional. The mental is the broader concept. It is directly linked to the universal or cosmic spirit. If we accept that our mental reality encompasses all our feelings and emotions and also our irrationality, we can easily comprehend the idea that the inner reality is at the basis of all our shortcomings, like a seed which produces a monster or a wonderful landscape, a demon or an angel. Yet we have to go farther and see that the dualistic concept which distinguishes good and bad, white and black, yin and yang, male and female, is a concept as well, a product of our mind, and not the mind itself. The mind at its origin is pure and untouched, and it is the source of a multitude of virtual realities. It bears a potentiality full of beauty, yet a beauty that we cannot grasp or evaluate. However, we can program the mind to recreate its original creation and thus achieve to change our inner mindset. All of us are driven by an inner program. This program is a mixture of heritage, upbringing, and self-programming. Unfortunately for many of us, this program is more or less negative, thus blocking the realization of our evolutionary potential. Creative prayer erases or neutralizes the negative content of this program bit by bit, replacing it by a new and positive one. Our inner program is reflected by our self-talk. If we want to find out about it, we only have to watch our self-talk or self-thought talk during one day. Many of us are not very conscious of their self-talk. Perhaps you will be surprised once you observe it, how negative it is, how cynical, disempowering, and how colored by guilt and fear. We can transform our self-talk so that it serves to bring us forward instead of blocking us. We can change our inner black magician into a white magician. If we wait for others to empower us, we may wait a lifetime. This is primarily the result of a mindset that is too left-brain oriented. With such a mindset, we tend to disregard the wide creation potential of our right brain. Our two brain hemispheres carry out different tasks and are organized in different ways. We reach our full creative potential only if we imply the right hemisphere, the right brain hemisphere in our thought processes, and thus think with both brain hemispheres simultaneously engaged. This means that our thought processes have to be coordinated so that they work as one whole integrated thought process that is based upon the harmonious functioning of the full brain. Learning and creativity are greatly enhanced from the moment we use the full brain and not only one brain hemisphere. With our brain hemispheres, it's a bit like with the potentialities of two persons. We cannot say that 1 + 1 = 2, but when we talk of two people brainstorming for new solutions, we all know that in this case we have a multiplication factor or potentiality factor built in the cooperation of these two people. In terms of human potential, 1 + 1 can go up to thousands. Left hemisphere plus right hemisphere is not 2, but perhaps millions. Relaxation induces in our brain the so-called alpha state, a state of higher receptivity, which brings about a higher degree of coordination between our two brain hemispheres. This overview over all possible brain waves reveals that alpha waves are among the long brain waves. Delta waves are between 0.5 to 4 Hz, so they're extremely long. Theta waves are between 4 and 7 Hz. They are a little bit shorter. Now, alpha waves, which are the ones we are talking about here, are between 7 and 14 Hz. And beta waves, which are the waves, the brain waves that are predominant when we think and when we work, these waves are between 14 and 30 Hz, so they are quite short. In the state in which alpha waves are predominant in our brain, the two brain hemispheres have shown to be most coordinated. This means that our thought processes while we are in alpha are more integrated. When are we in alpha? Typically in the interval between wake and sleep, or artificially induced while we do relaxation. In alpha, typically our brain functions in a way that left and right brain hemispheres work in synergistic and complementary cooperation. Creative prayer over time reorients the brain toward a more integrated functioning by dissolving the habit to function only on the left brain hemisphere, a habit that is conditioned through our left brain oriented education and culture. The second element that favors whole brain thinking is visualization. Visualization actively involves our spatial and pictorial thought capabilities and helps our prayers to be accompanied by pictorial content. This makes for an integrated functioning of the two hemispheres during visualization because imagination is a right brain quality, while reciting the prayers, as it involves language, is per se a left brain activity. Visualization, therefore, enhances imagination and stimulates the right brain hemisphere to participate in the creative prayer process. Creative prayer, last not least, enhances spontaneity. Spontaneity seems for many people something childish, something they think they can do without. Yet spontaneity is not only important in social life and on surprise parties, but it is a major factor in the process of creation. Without spontaneity, we always turn around in the same circles. We always stick to the same procedures and we always trot the same old paths. Spontaneity typically means doing before thinking. Action without involving thought is more integrated and generally more holistic than thought-based action. You may not believe this, or you may misunderstand what I say. I do not pretend that we can entirely live without thought and base our whole life on spontaneous action. To state this would be silly. What I say is that we need a creative balance between routine on one hand and spontaneous creation on the other. Zen considers spontaneity as an essential part of a creative and happy life. The techniques Zen uses for self-development are designed to block thought processes in order to free our potential for spontaneous creation and action. One of these techniques is the koan, a riddle-like, tricky way of expressing truth, a way which is non-logical, non-rational, or even impossible to grasp with thought. The koan tricks our mind to block thought, or to go around the trap thought represents for true creativity. For someone who has never done Zen meditation, it seems at the beginning almost impossible to grasp the idea of the koan technique or to resolve even the most simple riddle. This is not a question of intelligence. It is the way we use our brain and how we organize thought. Only if we get used to imply intuition in our thought processes, we can progress in Zen and in life in general.